Pell would be working hard on the cut and sew line. I would be working hard on t-shirts. And whenever we came together, we would try to make each other laugh by degrading each other to the fullest. And we've kept that relationship strong for several years now. So,
welcome to the Build, Tell, Sell podcast, where we have behind-the-scenes conversations about the art of brand building, marketing, and sales strategies with creative industry insiders. I'm your host, Pel, of PELNYC. Mike Thompson is an amazing illustrator and sculptor. His skill set is both in the real and digital world. This episode is for the artist that's looking to maximize their digital workflow and get a couple of tips and tricks into their toolbox. Mike, thank you very much for taking the interview. I really do appreciate it.
absolutely.
So, what is your current position? And, you know, I know you freelance, and what's your current position?
Yeah, so I am a freelance illustrator and sculptor. I do a lot of stuff for package design, for toys, movie posters, and now I just got a client, picked up a client, Sideshow collectibles. So I do art prints for them as well as statues. So
Dope. So how did you? I first met you all the way back at Echo.
Yeah.
But I know you was in-house then, but it seemed like you was just always doing freelance. Like you was working from home a lot, so it felt like it was freelance. So how did you go from when I met you at Echo all the way to doing all of this package design and even landing that gig at Sideshow, which I know is huge for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've been trying to get with Sideshow forever, but as far as how I transitioned into not only doing, a lot of freelance, but solely freelance is while I was working with Echo doing their t-shirts, I was always putting out feelers because the end result was always to work for myself and also to be able to do something that was where I mixed it up. You know what I mean? Like I don't like doing the same thing for too long. And what I noticed was it didn't matter where I was working. If I was doing only t-shirts or only like advertising art or whatever, it got a little stale. So that led me to do magazine artwork. So stuff for, magazines like Vibe and Double XL and King and all that, doing hip hop, like spot illustrations at first. Then I got like half pages, then I got full and double spreads, that kind of thing. And then that led to like books. And as I was doing it, I was building up clients. So that led to being able to jump and do full-time freelance when I did a commercial for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, actually. I remember that. And you also did something for Acura.
Infinity. Yeah.
Infinity. Sorry.
Yep.
Infinity.
Yep. They did a profile, Infinity in Black, where every year they select like 5 creatives. And they had Orbert Davis, who's a musician and a composer. They had a woman who is a director, and she did a film piece. And then I was like the artist that did I did a painting, and they gave us all a car, which was pretty dope. And then we got to drive the car for a week and create a piece that was inspired by that car for that delivery.
Wait. Yeah. They gave you a car to keep?
No, we didn't get to keep it. I thought we were gonna no, I had to give it back. But I
was like, that's a hell of a perk.
I know that's right. Nah, well, I took my Coke money and got a car, so I guess it kind of evens out.
This dude said he took his Coke money. You mean Coca-Cola money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nah, they let me hold on to some cash. I took cash and presented it to a car dealer, and they gave me a car in lieu of cash.
Nah, that's what's up. I mean, you had a very a long, I know also like lucrative career with doing this stuff, and I really do admire you and just watching you, come up.
Thanks, bro.
The work that you've done has been like incredible.
Thank you, man.
And I actually did forget that I knew you was doing the t-shirts over at Echo at the time, like early 2000s, but
Yeah.
I forgot how much you actually knew about screen printing. That's what
Yeah, that was a thing. So like right out of college, I decided I was going to I knew I wanted to be an artist, and I was worried that I was going to be uh I get I got to show you, I share this with your people. I get crank calls from China, and so now I'm getting a call from Guangdong. I don't think that that's a real call, but they want stuff from me for some reason. Apparently, I'm in China. I'm blowing up for the spam caller market. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. No. So like that. What were we talking about? I don't even remember.
Screen printing.
Oh yeah. So yeah, right out of high school, I always loved T-shirts, and so when I went to college, University of Maryland, I learned how to screen print for myself, and did my first shirt, which was like the wackest design ever. And it was on a really crappy sweater with bulletproof ink. So I was trying to sell this. Yeah, I was trying to sell this sweatshirt in the middle of summer. Like we just went back to school. It was like August and 95 degrees. And I'm over here trying to sell a sweatshirt. Yeah, I can't get my camera right. Trying to sell a sweatshirt to people. So didn't go over well, but I learned from that. That led to doing shirts for other companies, and eventually I landed at Echo doing their T-shirts.
Well,
I'm wearing one right now.
I know. I remember. I really do remember that one. I mean, that brings back great times, because when I was working there, that was like being at a university.
Yeah.
There was so many great artists, designers, but not only that. I mean, just business people, marketing people, all just very hungry to do something, and to be part of a great team.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what makes a great brand to you?
A great brand? I mean, something that's versatile, something that is going to be able to stand the test of time. Like I know there's a lot of fads. I think about fashion brands the same way I think about like design for homes or clothes. I mean, like obviously we talk about clothing, but like, something can be big now that I'm older, I think about things like, I don't know, appliances in the kitchen. And there might be a trend to want to get like black appliances or silver or whatever. But, obviously I want to get something that in 10 years is going to look as good as when I got it on day one. And with brands, I think it's the same thing. There might be something that's a trend that's blowing up right now. But, I'd rather be with something that's like a steady stock that's just going to continue to rise, as opposed to something that's going to spike and then fall off and nobody's going to want it anymore.
No, I got you. Because I know you're like the NASCAR of designers. You're like sponsored by all of these different, like who are some of the companies, hardware and software companies that you're affiliated with?
Sure. So like Corel does Corel Painter. I'm one of their painter masters. It's interesting. They always give the people who kind of use their products these very highfalutin names. So what's the one? Photoshop has evangelists. Corel has masters. It all looks kind of silly when you write it down, but I basically use their product. And
are you an evangelist for Photoshop?
No. Photoshop, nah. But I've been with Corel for a minute now, so like really going on, I don't know, like 7-8 years.
So Corel and Wacom as well?
Wacom, yeah, Wacom is a big one. So I'm actually, this screen I'm using now is a Cintiq, and they send me product. And in fact, I went last fall on a South American speaking tour for them, 4 countries, and ended up talking to a lot of college students about the direction they want to go as far as their careers and how to break in and all that good stuff. That was really fun.
Are you also ZBrush, right?
Yeah. So Pixelogic is another one. Pixelogic makes ZBrush, and that's the program that I use to sculpt my characters. So yeah, a few companies, some smaller stuff too.
Oh, like who?
I don't want to talk about it. I can't talk about that right now.
well,
I lied. There's no smaller companies. I wanted to sound bigger than I am.
well, I remember when you got connected with Painter. I believe it was the first time that you used it and you did a Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was amazing for the first time you use this thing and you do. It's like so awesome, the piece of artwork that you do, that the actual people who make the product are coming to you. Like, that was mind blowing to me. Like the Pixelogic stuff, the Wacom stuff, yeah, that comes. But because I remember you always digitally painting anyway, in Photoshop. And for those who may not know, like, you're one of the reasons why I even started doing any artwork really in Photoshop, like actually drawing and sketching and stuff like that. And which is carried on to my time over at 10 Deep and other places, whatever. But like just watching you in awe, crazy.
Thanks.
And your workflow goes from 2D to 3D. So can you tell us like how you juxtaposition the two of those worlds?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I always liked statues. Like I was always a big statue head. And I would collect them kind of the way that people get tennis shoes. But so I had like superhero guys all over the place and it cost a fortune. I figured one day I would want to make my own and maybe I could save some money that way. Turns out doesn't really work that way. From prototyping that it's way more expensive to make your own thing than it is just to buy it from the store. But that made me interested. So I played around a little bit and messed with like Super Sculpey back in this was way back in the Echo days. Just playing around with it and seeing what I could do. And then as I started working for companies like Hasbro and Mattel, I'd have to do like these G.I. Joes or superheroes, like Marvel and DC characters. And I would draw the pose and then I'd have to paint them. But what I would find is, say for G.I. Joe, if the guy's wearing tactical gear and he's got like the vest on and then he's got this and he's got like all the guns and all that mess, I might be able to find reference pictures online of the particular piece of gear, but maybe it's lit from the side or it's lit from the front. And then, the guy I'm working on, I found like the perfect goggles, but they're lit from a different direction. And so the problem was I'm trying to paint these things and I need a consistent light source. So it was almost like there was a necessity for me to learn how to get good reference in order to speed up my workflow. So what I did initially was I used this program called Poser. Remember Poser back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I use Poser and they have like these people who you can kind of pose them in the thing that you want. And you can even go on they had like a little marketplace where people would make gear for them and you could find something that's similar, but never quite good enough. And then the lighting looked okay, but the joints made like he bends his elbow. Instead of it having a point there, it'd be round or whatever. It'd be silly. So I worked with this dude back in the day named Brian Life, who was, he worked with us at Echo for a minute, but he's like a graffiti guy and he was using ZBrush. So when we were working on these G.I. Joe guys, I was like, dude, why does your stuff always look so tight? And it was because he would make the gear and put them on his Poser guys and then light it and he would paint, right? So I was like, all right, I got to get down with the ZBrush. One day I got to learn it. And that's what I did. I just kind of slowly picked it up and learned little bit by bit until I could make my guys and I could get the perfect lighting every time. All the gear was lit from the right way. I could do a rim light on it if it was a superhero. So I had like a blue light coming down on one side and it looks great. And then I would use that as reference and I'd have that on one screen and then I would paint on the other screen.
But does that slow down your workflow doing sculpting?
It did at first. Yeah, it kind of did it first. But what happened was, like everything else, when you get your 10,000 hours in, you get faster and faster.
Mm.
So now what I could do is, I'm working on another wave of GI Joe for Hasbro, and I can actually take the digital files of their toys, which looks like just a little, articulated 6-inch guy, but I can take that and I can pose it in ZBrush and fill in all the joints where there would be holes for the screws and pegs and all that. And then once that's done, I can light them and make it dynamic and do all that stuff. And it's a perfect reference for me to look at that and then paint it on another screen.
Oh, that's because they give you the files first. So
Yeah.
you don't have to sculpt all that stuff.
I don't have to sculpt it. Yeah.
Well,
So it's much faster.
Let me dial back a little bit because you said that you was using Sculpting back at Echo Days. So
Yeah.
is that the first time that you was using Sculpting?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, remember when we had the first,
I remember you doing that Wolverine. I'm asking because I remember you did a Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was around the first time that you ever used that?
Yeah.
Yo.
That's the first time I used it.
Yeah. Wow. That Wolverine was so good that Mark actually used it for a t-shirt or for a shirt.
Yeah, he did. It's funny. Now I own the Wolverine, so I know that it is actually not as good as you remember it, but I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that was my first kind of foray into it. Like, that's the thing that I do with everything, though, is like what I'll do is I'll go online and look at a lot of YouTube videos and buy books of people doing it. And I always look at the best people that are kind of doing their thing and kind of just really suck it up, because what I try to do is, obviously I could put out, just my version of whatever it is without looking at anybody else, but you don't get better that way. So even now when I'm sculpting, and I mean, I've been doing this for a minute, I'm still going on ArtStation and looking at people who are killing it. Or I'm on Photoshop, or not Photoshop, I'm on Facebook with friends of mine like Daniel Bell and Joe Minna and, Eric Sosa, like guys who are just destroying these statues, like the top of their class. And these are the guys that I'm striving to be like, So it's like that with painting too. Like I got some really, there's dope illustrators that I'm friends with who, like, I got a friend named Jason Seiler, who is, he got the cover of Time magazine. Like, he painted the Pope for the cover of Time magazine. Like, you never see painted covers anymore for Time anyway, like Man of the Year. So, I reach out to these guys. The good thing about all these artists is they're always really, really cool. I mean, I'm sure you know that. You talk to people all the time, and they're just like, they're just very down and will.
Oh no, yeah, it's and plus it's also more of a sharing community right now, and people want you to see their work, and they want you to, and they're willing to share because that gives them authority, right? Through tutelage. Let me ask, what is a brand that you would love to redesign?
Wow, that I'd love to redesign?
Yep. Put your hand on it.
Man, I don't know. I've been out of the game.
Not clothing. I mean anything.
Not clothing?
Anything.
Man, I would love to go in and get my hands on Masters of the Universe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I look back at those things. I was just watching that Netflix Toys That Made Us, and it was just so interesting. Like, I didn't collect them back in the day. I think I was a little too old for He-Man and all those guys. So I was into video games at that time, I think. But I look back at the story of how those came to be, and I look at the original character designs, and I'm like, those are dope. But I would love to go in and make them more realistic. And I even have on my Facebook and Instagram, I have a Trap Jaw, where I was like, all right, I'm gonna do my take on this dude, So
that's dope.
That's dope. And maybe Thundercats.
Oh, that would be dope too.
Yeah.
Nah, seriously. Yeah. I think that those toys, it's about time anyway for those things to be repurposed and retooled and brought
Yeah,
back into the forefront as well, because they were great stories then, you
sure.
know. And also with toys, I mean, I learned this from the same Netflix thing, is that the cartoons was actually the marketing for the toy. Like, they did that purposefully.
Yeah,
And I thought it was the opposite. I thought it was, oh, here we got this cartoon. Oh, it's so good. Let's do this toy.
yeah.
That's
That
it.
was back before they did it the opposite way. So now
Yeah.
they flip it, and it's not as good, right?
No.
It's like, oh, we got this cartoon.
No.
Let's make some crappy toys to go along with it.
So with this, because you had an incredible artistic journey, and when did you know that this was your moment, that this was your
Um,
thing?
so it's interesting. And this is one of the things I was talking to the kids about when I was in Colombia and Mexico and all that was, I think as an artist, we are always looking for our style, right? Like it's easy to go out there and be like somebody else, and kind of replicate what's expected of us or what's trending at the time. So, I've always loved hip hop. When we were at Echo, that's when Shepherd Ferries just started jumping off. So one thing that I thought I could do, like I always liked a really clean graphic aesthetic. But that wasn't really me, you know what I mean? Like I'm more of an illustrator. I wanna do more realistically rendered things. But I'm not mad at him. Like that whole campaign was dope and all his stuff was dope. We were talking about Cause the other day. And so finding your style is the thing. And people think that it's cheating when you look at somebody who you really dig and you try to be like that person. I don't really subscribe to that idea. You know what I mean? Like I think that if if I know that I like a particular artist and I don't know where I'm coming from yet, I'm going to do something that's similar to them. I don't have to stop there because I don't like just one artist. Like I like several artists. So now I'm liking, Norman Rockwell, and I also like, Ernie Barnes. So I'm going to mash those two together and come up with a style that's mine, and I also like Alex Ross. So now I'm taking all these different genres of artists who, very, very vintage, clean style of Norman Rockwell from back in the Saturday Evening Post and mashing up with Alex Ross, who is, doing superheroes and making them look realistic, and, throwing in some Ernie Barnes with the exaggerated features of the Sugar Shack and just mushing that all into Mike T and then putting that out there. And I think that that's what people ultimately do when they realize their own style. We're never reinventing the wheel. We're taking what we like and we're kind of borging it, right? Making it our own.
No, I agree with you. I've been in a place several times. I mean, even now, like trying to figure out what is my voice, what is my style. And
Yeah.
I think that it's important to have some type of mentorship, whether it's somebody who can like guide you into finding yourself, or
Sure.
it's through you finding these other artists and looking at them as indirect mentors, because you probably don't have a handle on them, and just looking at their stuff, because even in that mashup, your style is coming through that lens and you're making your own way, because none of them are going to be able to paint like you or sculpt like you or what have you. What are some of the common missteps that you see from artists as they are developing their own style, their own brand?
I think that people rely on the technology too much. Honestly, I think that I see a lot of people who think, okay, I bought a PC. Now I'm a graphic designer. You know what I mean? Like I own Photoshop. Now I am an illustrator. Or I got a Wacom tablet and I've arrived. And it's one of those things where, for me, I feel like had I not built the foundation with things like pencil and paper and painting on real canvas, or even sculpting with, Super Sculpey or whatever, monster clay, I wouldn't have an appreciation for the way that these things are in real life. You know what I mean? So my thing when I'm illustrating, for anybody that knows about any of the stuff that I've done, I go out of my way to make my digital art look traditional. Like that's my thing. So that's why I like Painter so much, because you can see the strokes, you know, it doesn't feel sterile. It has a personality. And it's something that can pass for being painted traditionally.
Well,
same with sculpting, right? So when I'm sculpting in ZBrush, I'm reverse engineering this because I learned in ZBrush, but now I'm going and messing with monster clay, and I'm applying the same techniques.
What's monster clay? Is that real physical clay?
Yeah, it's real physical clay. I'm looking around. I have a skull somewhere. I don't know where it is, but yeah, I don't know where it is. My office is a mess. But yeah, I have, so basically it comes in a tub. It's the same thing that these guys that make maquettes for movies and for statues and stuff use. So you warm it up in the microwave or in a crock pot and it becomes pliable, and then you can sculpt with it. And then when it cools off, it becomes really hard. So you can go in and really detail it. Yeah, it's fresh. But yeah, I learned, so I go back and forth, like things that I'm doing with real physical clay. I'm like, how do I replicate that on the screen? And then there's something that I might do on the screen. I'm like, oh, I like this look. Let me make this happen in real life. So going back and forth with that, with painting, you know, it just makes the artwork better. It makes it more authentic to me. And it gives it more of a personality, you know, like when I first started, I wanted everything to look like airbrush. I wanted everything to be clean. You know, I didn't want you to see strokes. I thought that that was the way to go. In fact, I did that when we first started the hip hop campaign with Echo back in the day when I was doing like buckshot. And I spent days and days and, you know, maybe weeks painting buckshot for this campaign. And somebody came over and looked over my shoulder and was like, oh man, that's dope. Which Photoshop filter did you use?
Oh, wow.
I was like, damn, man.
Well,
you know?
I know also when you work, because I've, you know, had the privilege of seeing your screens, you use a lot of references, and not even references from the actual subject that you're using.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you was doing the De La Soul piece, you was using lip references from other people and all type of stuff.
Sure.
You know, when I looked at your screen, you just had a litter of photos that you were just like carving through. And I think that's also very important to use real references for these ideas. You have to know the rules before you break them.
Absolutely.
What's one of your favorite cereal commercials that you used to watch as you were coming up as a kid?
Commercials. I always, it's funny. That's a funny question. So I love Cookie Crisp, but probably, even though I didn't like the cereal, I liked the Trix commercials.
For real?
Because it reminded me of like Bugs Bunny. Like the rabbit is always trying to get the cereal, and the kids are always like, you know, this is mine, get off.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, he could easily get that cereal from those kids, you know. Just clock them and take the cereal.
He said they can easily get the cereal from them kids.
Kids, it's like taking cereal from a baby.
What's one high school moment that you wish you could just bottle up?
Oh God, a good one?
Yeah.
Nah, son. I don't have a lot of good memories from high school. I was literally the nerd who wasn't good at anything in high school, man. Like, imagine these glasses, but like 4 times larger and thicker than these. And all of the self-confidence of nothing, you know? I hadn't found myself until I went to college, to be honest with you.
You wasn't drawing in high school?
I was, but it was not good, you know? Like, and it's funny because you know how you just try something over and over and over again and you're really terrible at it, and then one day it kind of clicks and you do it?
Yeah.
That's how I was with faces. So I could not get a likeness to save my neck.
I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Nah.
no, it's crazy. So I would draw people over and over and over again. And I was like, these never look like who it was supposed to look like. I think I don't know. I did like a Vanessa Williams or Eddie Murphy or whatever. And you were like, who's that supposed to be? That was the worst thing I heard growing up, by the way. Who's that supposed to be? What's that supposed to be? I'm like, what?
Hey,
That's the worst thing you could say to an artist, man.
but you know what? The crazy thing is there are artists now that I've seen on Instagram that they will put the name in the caption or they'll
Yeah.
put the name in the picture itself. So it's like
Yeah.
they're kind of leading the witness,
Sure,
at
sure.
the same time.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
one
you're
of
not supposed to do that.
Nah, you're not supposed to, but it's done. It's a little cheat code. What's
Yeah.
one of the greatest lessons that you've learned on marketing yourself?
Oh shoot, man. Some of the best marketing lessons I learned was talking to you, man, for real.
Oh wow, I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that answer.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Like I got a buddy from college that I still talk to who we're mutual friends. We went to school with Aaron Magruder.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah, he used to get on me all the time because, Aaron's like a couple years, maybe 2 years younger than me, year younger than me. I don't know. But my buddy Les would always be like, yo, Mike, why aren't you, Aaron just came out with Boondocks, or he's writing a script for a movie with the Hudlin brothers or whatever, he's like, I tell you guys both all the time, you need to make something you could sell and stop reinventing the wheel all the time. So like right now, the way I do it is somebody will contact me, Warner Brothers or Hasbro or whoever, and say, I want a piece and I got to paint the piece and I turn it in and I get my money. The way it should be done really is I should have my own property, whatever it is, and then I could do a painting of it or a sculpture of it or whatever, and it belongs to me and I can just sell it over and over and over again and get paid. But yeah, no, when I first was talking to you, when you first got on IG and you were telling me about the daily doodles, I was like really impressed, man. Like that. And when you had your PR person and were kind of giving me tips, like you're always, between you and now my daughter who just started college this year, I'm constantly picking up things to help me kind of figure out how to better market myself.
Yeah, I mean, even for myself, it's a work in progress. It's not easy because one thing is doing the work and then telling people about the work and then figuring out the selling of the work, right?
Sure.
And also building a community while you're going on that journey. I mean, as an artist too, and I can only speak from the lens of being creative. Sometimes it's hard because, like you said, you're trying to find your voice. And if you don't find that voice, you're not moving past, and you're not even going.
Right.
Because you're like, no matter how good this may look to everybody else, it's not fulfilling to you.
Yeah.
So you're not even trying to show it, tell people about it. Some people got to stumble upon it, be like, yo, this is dope. And you're like, is it really?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough marketing and stuff. I think that where we're at right now with social media and a lot of these digital tools, it's great to be able to do the work digitally, but now you can actually jump over people in your marketing.
Sure.
But it's still a task upon itself. What's one of the most interesting marketing campaigns that you've seen to date?
I mean, marketing. It's funny because I've seen some stuff. I used to like what Nike Labs was doing back in the day a lot. I like that aesthetic a lot. And
what about it?
It was just, at the time, it was just super clean. I like really clean graphic stuff, and the layout was dope. It was all about the product, right? And even when they had celebrity, talent that was wearing the product, it all really pointed to whatever it was they were pushing, and everything always looked very like futuristic to me. It looked like what it would be like in the, in the near future at the time. That was really dope. I think that now, it's interesting because it's the stuff that I see on TV that's always on. And I'm just like, how is this always on my screen? But damn if it doesn't make you remember what it is they're trying to sell. Like if I see the progressive lady Flo one more time, I'm gonna go crazy. But like, Flo is blowing up, man. Between Flo and the Can You Hear Me Now guy, I'm like, damn, dude, their grandchildren are set. Because it's always on, that I was talking to somebody the other day, and the telephone guy has gone from, what was he started at Verizon, and then he went to Sprint, and now Sprint got bought by T-Mobile. He's going to be on T-Mobile pushing their stuff, and
he's winning.
He's winning big time. Yeah. So.
When you're designing product, whether it be starting from a digital sculpt or just going into straight painting, whatever it is, do you think about how it's going to be marketed as you're completing the work?
Yeah. So especially for like the stuff I do for Hasbro. So I know that a lot of these guys that I'm painting now are not necessarily going to end up on the toy box itself, but they will end up in like Toy Fair, so like they had a big reveal of these new 6-inch figures that they came out with for the declassified line, right? That's the way they're going now with all their guys. And they used my roadblock painting as this giant banner at New York Toy Fair. And the thing was like 20 feet tall or whatever.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was the first time that people saw anything in regards to these new characters. So that was a big deal for me. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that was dope. I did a piece that, I do a lot of pieces for my boy Kenny in LA that's used for like movie, one sheets. And it's one of those deals where I might paint 10, 15 pieces and they'll pitch that in addition to all these other pieces. But you got to remember that there's all these other ad agencies that are also pitching for whatever the movie may be. So they rarely get used. In this instance for Deadpool 2, they used my billboard or my piece of artwork for a billboard where I used my daughter's fingernails as reference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they were painted fingernails with, one had like a skull on it. And then one had, a little poop emoji. And then another had an L on it. So Deadpool. And then, all this other stuff. It was crazy, but it showed up on billboards on the West Coast. And I was like, oh, man, that's kind of a first for me.
I know that you've done, like, when you did some of the Marvel stuff, didn't it, like, wind up even on, like, Big Gulp cups and like
that was the Guardians of the
Galaxy and stuff like that?
Yeah.
When you was doing those talks, in South America, how was that in comparison to doing it over here in the United States?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I had somebody else ask me that one time. I don't do talks here. Like, I've never been on a talk circuit here, and I have a friend who does that. He used to be an A&R for Atlantic Records. And he goes around on these college speaking tours. He's like, dude, why aren't you doing this? I'm just like, because I don't know. Nobody ever approached me and I don't know exactly how to get up into it. But it was fun, man. Like I had a whole lot of Steve Jobs moments where they basically put me on stage for an hour. They were like, talk about what you do. And they had like a PowerPoint behind me that's showing my artwork and what I've done all that. And then when I'm done, they like do a little live presentation where I would be on my Wacom tablet and drawing, sculpting or drawing whatever. And then I take questions from the audience. And these audiences, like the biggest one I think they had was like 500 people. So for me, that was a big deal, especially for somebody who was terrified to speak in front of folks back in high school.
Oh, wow.
So that was dope. And then after that was done, I would go, kind of to the campus, the college campus, and talk to the individual classes. Like we'd have 2 classes where I'd be talking one-on-one to the students. So that was
Oh, that's
great.
dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's a great interaction. I know you must have gotten a lot out of it as well.
Yeah.
Outside of collecting these statues and stuff as a kid, what did you collect anything else?
Yeah. Comic books was a big thing for me. So I got a couple of, I got a few long boxes of comic books from back in the day.
Oh, you still have them?
Yeah, I still have them. It's funny because I thought my kids would want to, I could pass them on to them.
Nope.
Yeah, I know, right? My daughter and my son, neither of them are interested. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Marvel or DC?
Mostly Marvel. I got some DC in there.
Who's your
I
favorite?
followed the artist more than the yeah. So like if who was the one I was really into? So obviously Alex Ross's stuff, but before him, it's crazy. I can't think of anything like Bill Sienkiewicz, who does like New Mutants and stuff like that. I would get them, and if they would jump to a separate book, I would, like John Byrne, for example, was doing Superman. Then he would go and do Fantastic Four, and then he would jump to the Hulk. I'd go wherever he was.
Yo, I was a John Byrne fan. I was Arthur Adams fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike Mignola, fan of his. His easy layup, Frank Miller. His style, like not even talking about his storytelling, just his style is crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah. What's some things that influence your personal purchase? Not art supplies or anything, just in general. What are some of the things that you look for in the brand when you're about to buy?
At this point, like I say, I'm getting older. So when it comes to clothes, my style has become progressively more and more whack as I get older.
Not just clothes. Anything. Anything that you go look for.
It's funny because I'm leaning into my nerd side, right? So like in addition to the statues and stuff, I am getting more techie stuff. I went from, I was like a Mac guy my entire life. And then I decided, after Steve Jobs passed, I was like, you know what? I've been shoveling money to these guys forever. They come out with something new and cripple the OS for me. So I built my first PC, and it was crazy. Now I'm hooked. So I'm constantly buying pieces and putting it in there and making it faster, whatever.
Is that because it's more modular?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I can go in and, for the price I would spend on buying a mid-range Apple, now I can build like a supercomputer with a PC with my own graphics card and memory and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
So I know that some artists protect their brand, and their product through, their price. Do you ever do that? Like price protect yourself?
I did at first. It's interesting because most of the stuff I do is either NDA forever or it never really belongs to me. That's what I was talking about. So I remember I did a painting of the Joker back when the second Christian Bale Batman movie came out, The Dark Knight, and Heath Ledger was playing Joker. So I painted him for Warner Brothers, and it kind of blew up, and I noticed that people were stealing that image. It's funny because in the card, he's holding a playing card up like this, and in the card, I had Mike T Artworks down in there. It was hidden in there.
Oh, wow.
And so I noticed that people were knocking this off, and they weren't catching that and changing it. So I was like, all right, well, you clearly stole my artwork, bro. But I just turned it over to Warner Brothers, and their hunter killers went after him and took care of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I haven't really had a lot of my own personal stuff. I got a cat. So like, if I do this, it's because I got cat hair stuck in my eyebrows. But yeah, like I haven't really had a lot of my own personal stuff that's out there. I have an idea that I'm getting ready to do. And so I'm going to want to copyright that. But again,
that's through Sideshow, right? They allowing you to present your own character and then get it sculpted into a collectible, correct?
Yeah. So it's really funny. My relationship with them how it's changed. So I've been chasing Sideshow for easily 6 years.
Wow.
And it's interesting how you never get something until you're ready for it, right? I mean, when you do, you don't know what to do and you lose it. So I'm very glad that they didn't take notice of me until now, because when I was going after them back in the day, my statues had a lot of problems with the anatomy, and I didn't really know how to turn anything super fast. Even my illustrations, I don't think were exactly where I wanted them to be. Like now I could do, we just came out with an art print for Old Dirty Bastard for his anniversary. And I was able to paint that and get it looking exactly how I want, only because I've been doing stuff for magazines and books and all this over the years, and I was ready, right? So with the thing that you were talking about, they have, I was salty, you know what I mean? Like I was trying to get them for a client. That was my white whale. They were ignoring me, and I was like, I don't want to work with them anyway. I don't care about what they think about me. It's like the pretty girl you're trying to holler at, and she's blowing you off, you know? So one day I got a call, and it was from them, and one of my friends over there who's the lead painter for them, who knows my Echo stuff, was like, okay, you're doing this thing for ODB, you got to holler at my man Mike T. And they reached out, and I did it for them, and got a relationship with them, and now they like my work ethic, you know? So now they're down for whatever.
That's incredible that it went full circle from you doing the caricatures of the Echo stuff all the way back to you know, getting to do this caricature of him also as a sculpt, but also doing the 2D piece. That's dope. That's dope. When does that drop?
Well, you just actually kind of, you messed me up. We're not supposed to be talking about that part yet. Okay. I can't say exactly if I know what you're talking about, but the art print is out right now.
Got you.
Yeah. That other thing maybe in the future.
So got you. So you've worked with art agents before to carry your work around and get you more work. What to you is the definition of a good art agent?
Just somebody who's doing it for you, who's you know, obviously it's a business and they got to get money, but somebody who's out there protecting your interest, who's getting you top dollar. So I've had 2 agents in my life, and that's one of the things that as an illustrator, we're constantly trying to figure out, do we need an agent or not? And so I always thought that I needed one. And really the reason for that is, if you're like me, you don't like to multitask, you know, like I want to paint all day and I don't want to worry about the business side of it. You know, getting to know people like you has taught me that you need to know the business side of it, because nobody's going to represent you like you.
Nope.
So, you know, back in the day, I had a company in the UK, which had 100 artists globally, and they represented 100 people. And my thing was, I was like, all right, well, I'm not in England, so, you know, nobody's going to see my stuff there. So why wouldn't I use them? You know, they'll throw me some work. I'll do a piece. I'm getting my exposure up, you know, in another country, and it's a win-win. But when you're representing 100 people, you're not really beholden to any of them, you know? Yeah. So that was the thing. So then I realized, I was like, all right, well, I need a New York agent. And, you know, I'm not New York, but I was like, all right, I got to either have a West Coast guy or got to have a New York guy. And I ended up getting one in New York. And it was an interesting situation, because when I came to him, I already had some, you know, blue chip clients. Like Coca-Cola was already a client of mine. Infinity was a client. You know, companies like Verizon and stuff like that, I'd already worked with. So those got to be my house accounts, which meant that I kept them, and he was supposed to get me new guys. So turned out he wasn't getting me a whole lot of new guys. And even when he did, he wasn't getting me a decent fee. And my whole thing, you know, when you're an artist and you start out, you're very weary about what you should charge. You know, that's always been like the biggest kind of a hurdle to jump as a young artist, was getting paid what you're worth. And, you know, when you're young and inexperienced, it's very easy to say, well, what do you want to pay for it? What do you think it's worth? And cats are always going to be like undervaluing you. And so I would like not sleep well at night and all this. And that's part of the reason why I wanted an agent, was because I wanted this dude out there getting me the most he could get for my work, upping my exposure so I could get more clients. That's the whole reason you pay your 25, 30% to an agent.
Woo.
It wasn't like that. I know, right? It wasn't like that. So he wasn't getting me any more big clients, and he was, you know, not getting me the price that I wanted. So eventually I had to part ways with the dude.
Well,
and it just, yeah.
with you representing yourself, how do you navigate getting those blue chip clients?
Yeah, so I'm kind of fortunate in that is a domino effect, you know. One of the first, not even one of, the first big client I had was Coke, and they carry a lot of weight. So the company I did the commercial for the Coke thing, was the art director from there, assistant AD, ended up going, that company was Burrell Communications out of Chicago, one of the largest African-American ad agencies in the country. The dude left there, he went to another company on the West Coast, and he had just come off of that campaign and was like, let me holler at Mike for this Infinity thing. And so that directly led to another big company. So that's two of them. And then having that on my resume and having that on my art, on my website, you know, people would go and be like, oh, Dip, you know, he's working with these guys already. You know, he's reliable, obviously. And he does work that warrants us hollering at him. So that led to me getting companies like Hasbro and Mattel, and eventually Marvel and Warner Brothers, you know, so it just kind of snowballed that way. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have Coke as, you know, the first guys. It would have been a harder struggle.
Is that what also led you to getting, like, you know, doing the cover for the video games and the movie posters and things of that nature as well?
I'm sure it didn't hurt. You know, people saw the stuff I was doing for the, I mean, also, you know, I got to give credit where credit is due. So the Echo stuff was in magazines. That was the first advertising thing that I ever did, or editorial illustration, advertising, I guess. That led to me doing advertising or editorial illustrations as well for magazines. And then I had a body of work that people could look at and see he's consistent. Yeah. You know, that's the main thing. Like, you could do a dope, super dope piece and people see it. But if you're not able to replicate that style, or if you're not able to come with that kind of consistency on your next piece, and I tell this to artists every time, like when I'm talking to kids or young cats or whoever is getting into artwork, I'm like, listen, doesn't matter how good you are, you have to be consistent. So you're only as good as your last piece of work, you know? So for me, it could all fall apart if I do a sculpture that is, I've put hundreds of hours into and it looks really great, and then I decide to show something that's, I don't know, I was sick that week, or I just decided to phone it in or whatever, then that could ruin everything for me. So I take that approach to paintings and sculpture, whatever, graphic design. And I know that, you know, it's very easy to rest on your laurels. I have friends who do it. It's not a good look, and people will know, and they will only stay with you. It's just like putting out a hot album. If you can't come out with a sophomore album that's the same kind of heat as your first one,
you're right about that. No, you're right about that. I'll say this: that is a great jewel for those who want to enter into this? Besides like finding your own style and your own path, but just the consistency.
Yeah.
Let me end it on this note. Where can people find you if they want to see more stuff?
Sure. So my name online is Mike T Artworks. It spells like Mike Tartworks. I did not put a lot of thought into it when I got the URL. I do not make pies, but I do I do paint them. So yeah, no. On Instagram, it's Mike T Artworks. Facebook, Twitter, and if you go to my YouTube, there's no S, so it's Mike T Artwork. But yeah, they can catch me on that. I do a bi-weekly, that's every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Stream for Pixelogic, and that's on ZBrush Live. So if they want to see me sculpting for 3 hours at a clip and hear some decent music and ask questions, they can catch me on ZBrush Live. And this week, in 2 days, actually, what is today? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Today's
I lose
Tuesday.
track.
Tuesday.
Today, yeah. All right, on Thursday, I'm doing another webinar for Corel. I haven't done one for them in a long time. So I will be painting Venom Pool. Deadpool. Dead Venom. Venom Pool. The one that looks like Venom and Deadpool had a baby. I'm painting him. So
Got you. All right.
yeah. Go to Corel.com to check that out.
Well, I'll end it on this, and I really do appreciate you taking the interview. This was dope. This was dope.
We've been friends for a long time. Cats don't know. Pel and I have, we used to take pride in busting each other's collective sack every time we could at Echo. Way back in the day, Pel would be working hard on the cut and sew line. I would be working hard on t-shirts. And whenever we came together, we would try to make each other laugh by degrading each other to the fullest. And we've kept that relationship strong for several years now. So
Mike has my kryptonite. I will say that most definitely. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime.
Thank you so much for tuning in. The show is available on video at PELNYC, IGTV, and YouTube, and audio in iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Please subscribe to the show, and if you feel so inclined, leave us a 5-star rating, and please leave a comment for your thoughts on this episode, insights, and ideas. And most importantly, please enjoy life nurturing your creativity.